Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first story is titled, "You Want to Take My Security Deposit? Perhaps you should read your own contract." A few years ago, I was looking for a place to live and I came across an interesting advertisement looking for property guardians. The idea behind property guardians is that disused buildings are far more secure if they are occupied, so owners of empty properties will allow people to live there temporarily for incredibly cheap price. So, the guardian gets to live in a, usually quite interesting, disused building incredibly cheaply. The owner makes a small additional bit of income and has someone keeping their eye on the place. This arrangement is usually done through a third-party guardian company, who act as the intermediary. This particular advert was for a pub that had recently closed. My interest piqued, so I went along to a viewing. The space was huge, and they were only asking for a few £100, all bills included, so I went for it, along with a group of other people. We all picked our rooms. I got the bar area, a huge room with ensuite ladies and gents toilets, a big fireplace and cozy pub decor. We also had full use of the sizable pub kitchen, beer cellar, dishwashing room, double garage, car park and a massive garden with a barbecue area. For the most part, it was a great gig. I got to live in a pub, have all the space I wanted, and as the building was due to be destroyed, we could pretty much do what we liked with the internals. I put up curtains and temporary walls and made it my cozy home for the next couple of years. Other guardians moved in and out over the months, but myself and a couple of others were there for the long term. Aside from the odd dodgy person coming and going, I had two of my tires slashed at one point, but that's another story. All was pretty cushy. The owner of the guardian company, and thus the person I paid my rent to, was a large red-faced man who was quite full of himself. He tended to be quite bossy and sometimes aggressive, but I stayed out of his way. As long as I paid my rent and didn't cause him trouble, he left me alone. All until the end of the tenancy. I had moved out, returned my keys, and I was awaiting the return of my security deposit. At some point, a car had been dumped on the property. I hadn't noticed, because one of the previous guardians, who I will call Rob, had pushed it round to the back of the property and had been working on it. I just assumed it was his car. The first of the emails from the guardian company read, "The Volvo dumped in the car park was not reported to us and must be removed from the site. Rob has declined to take responsibility of the vehicle and has alleged it was reported to the police, and yet none of you have reported to us on such a serious issue. I would suggest that it be placed on the public highway and then the police will deal with whomever owns the vehicle." Wait, did you just incite us to commit fly tipping? I emailed back and said the car wasn't my responsibility, and thus I won't be moving it. Things went back and forth like this for a while, with the owner insisting that we were all responsible. Emphasis here means it's important later. Stop arguing, as I don't care, and if it's not gone then you will all be accountable to the issue. Rob was contacted and has said it's not his, and now the burden falls on all of you that knew about the car and failed to report it. At this point, I mentioned small claims court as an idle threat to see what would happen. You have failed to report an incident that is something that is detrimental to the property. You are in breach of the license for failing to do so. Happy to see you in court and explaining that you were put into the building to act as security by occupation, and while there you failed to report a dumped car. Right. It's on. I pulled out the contract and went back over it with a fine-tooth comb. At this point, another email came through. "Dear all, please be aware that you were all under license at the property and not tenants, and had no tenancy rights, as is clearly stated in the license that you all agreed to and signed. Under the license you act as security for the property and were responsible for reporting any incidents, and also were responsible for keeping the property safe, secure, and as stated any items left will be charged for removal. The items left were dumped outside and certainly were not there throughout your time on site and must have been placed there by one or more of you." This was accompanied by photographs of even more stuff that other guardians had left in the property, furniture, etc. But I wasn't going to be responsible for any of their stuff. This guy thought he could bully us out of our money because we didn't have a legal tenancy and were therefore not covered by UK laws protecting tenants. I wasn't going down without a fight. We may not be covered by tenants' rights, so everything would fall back to basic contract law. I found the interesting parts of the occupation license agreement that I had with the Guardian company. Damage security payment means the amount payable by the Guardian to cover the cost of any damages caused by the Guardian, but not anybody else. And since this contract is between myself and the Guardian company with no jointly and severally liable clause, I can't be held responsible for anyone else's mess. Great. But there's more. This one is interesting. 3.1 The Guardian company provides services to property owners to, among other benefits, secure premises against trespassers and protect such premises from damage. The Guardian company has agreed to provide such services to the owner in respect of the property. So we don't provide security, that's the responsibility of the Guardian company, which we're not a part of. But wait, there's more. The Guardian will 10.1.10 not remove anything from the property, other than things that he brought there. Boom. Gotcha. I fired back an email. Please see section 3.1 of the license agreement signed by myself and the Guardian company owner. It stipulates that you, the Guardian company, provide security. Not us, the Guardians. Please also see section 10.1.10. Given that I did not bring either the car or the furniture onto the property, it would in fact be a breach of your own license agreement for me to remove it. In this case, I will be complying with your contract and thus will not remove the items that I did not bring onto the property. Please return my security deposit within 3 working days, or I will be forced to take legal action. Their response: at this point we are happy to see you in court and please do not contact us unless via your solicitor, as we will be charging for our time to deal with such matters. If you can demonstrate who is responsible for leaving the items for us to deal with, we will look at this. But as stated previously, these items were not there previously and have dumped them outside. All of you failed to report the car. Sounds like he was shaken up a little and probably hoped I was bluffing. Unfortunately for him, I wasn't. I filed the court papers after 3 working days. He caved as soon as he received the court papers, and realized that I wasn't bluffing. He repaid our deposits, along with my court fees the very next day. Victory. The next story is titled, Give Us More Money or We'll Evict You, Go Ahead. A few years ago, my best friend and I rented a tiny 2-bedroom flat together. This place was kind of terrible. My friend's room had a hole cut into the wall so the last foot of the bed would fit. This became a mantelpiece in the next room. The kitchen was the size of a child's playhouse kitchen, and the upstairs neighbors spent all hours of the day and night screaming at each other or having loud sex. But we were mostly happy because we were over living with 6+ other people. We paid £75 a week each plus bills for this place, which was pretty standard for a 2-bed flat in our area. Then 6 months into our 1-year contract, the landlord sold the terraced house our flat, and 5 others, was a part of, to a middle-aged married couple who were first-time landlords. They were the kind of people who thought they were smarter than everybody else, and I got the impression they thought property management was going to be the easiest thing ever. We had no problem throughout the sale process. We were assured nothing would change. We didn't interact much with the landlord before anyway. Then 2 weeks after the sale, we got an email from the couple saying that we owed them £20 each more a week. Basically, in our contract it stated our rent was £75 each a week about 10 times, but there was one typo where it said our rent was £95 each, so they said they could legally charge us £95. We laughed at this, but when it became clear they were serious, we reached out to the letting agent and got them to put in writing that it was a typo. Our rent was always £75, and they even gave us the original advert for the flat with the correct rent on it. We thought this would be the end of it. We were wrong. The couple insisted on coming to our flat for an in-person meeting. When they got there, they said that they asked the old landlord about it and he was shocked that we'd not been paying enough for 6 months now and the rent was always £95. I didn't buy this because they had nothing in writing, but I made the argument that of course he would say that because he wouldn't want it to seem like he sold under false pretenses, and if we'd been underpaying by a total of like £160 a month, why had he never spoken to us about it? They said that he was a busy guy with too many properties. Then the husband spent ages condescendingly explaining mortgages to us. Then they declared that if we did not start paying them the higher rent, they would evict us, and we had 24 hours to pay or 30 days to get out, and they left. Honestly, I think they saw 2 22-year-old girls and thought they could scare us into paying more money. What they didn't know is that my friend and I are very pleasant until you piss us off and we become vindictive motherduckers. We decided that night that if they wanted to evict us from this crap hole, we were going to make them do it properly, and if they were so pedantic about contracts and rules, we were going to stop letting anything slide. The couple woke up the next morning with an email from our lawyer, my flatmate's brother, a bored lawyer with time on his hands, requesting a formal eviction notice in writing and laying out a record of last night's conversation. Thing was, they didn't actually have legal grounds to evict us, because even if we went to court and a judge favored their interpretation of the contract, we were advised this was unlikely. We still didn't owe them more than a month's rent, which would have been their only legal way of evicting us because we were otherwise great tenants. By 9:15 a.m. they were ringing us, but we ignored them and emailed that our lawyer had advised us to only communicate in writing. We then sent an email informing them that the fancy new front door they just installed could not be unlocked from the inside without a key, which violated fire safety laws, and unfortunately if this wasn't rectified ASAP, we would have to report it. We then sent texts that showed them repeatedly entering our flat with less than 24 hours notice, and did they know that this was illegal? Maybe we should talk to the other tenants, because if they're doing this to everyone, then this could be quite a problem. After about 3 days of this, we received a very nice email saying that they don't agree our rent was supposed to be £75 each a week, but they would graciously allow us to finish out our contract at that rate. By this point we'd found a flat triple the size for £80 each a week and wanted out of that hamster cage, so we offered to move if they signed mutual surrender forms. They eagerly agreed. The best part was that they stubbornly tried to rent that flat at the higher rate, despite us telling them it was a terrible idea, and the flat was empty for over a year. And because they had agreed to end our contract early, they got stuck paying the council tax, not me. The next story is titled, "You Won't Let Me Break the Contract?" Let's just read it together, shall we? A few years ago my business partner and I rented a remodeled garage space to run our business out of. The owner had not rented to a business before, so she needed to get a different contract ready for us. A while later, we decided to close the business. We informed the landlord and were told we would still need to pay monthly until the end of our contract. I asked if we could transfer the contract to a new tenant and we would be willing to do the legwork there. She wouldn't allow it. We asked if there was a clause for buying our way out of the contract. She said no. We tried a few other options, but all she wanted was for us to continue paying until the contract was up. I was skeptical that the contract had no provisions for an early termination, but I couldn't get to my copy of the contract. It was stored somewhere safely off-site. So I asked her for a copy and she obliged. While on the phone discussing our options, I noticed that because she had to find a new contract for us since we were a business, not an individual, she hadn't proofread as well as she thought. I read a few paragraphs of the contract she provided that clearly states that our contract is month to month, not annual. She got notably irritated and swore that was the wrong contract. I pointed out that the contract she sent had both of our signatures on it and she is welcome to take this to the courts if she feels that is necessary. We never heard from her again until we had to drop off the keys. The next story is titled, "Double Malicious Compliance." This happens more often than not, but this one stuck out. So I work at a casino and it happened about a year ago. We have kiosks for the guests so they can print their promotions and see what they have available. I'm normally the one on my shift to make sure they don't run out of paper and running smoothly. One day I get called to put a new roll of paper in a kiosk. As I'm making my way to the kiosk, I notice a guest on it about to print out something, and this happened. Cast, me and dumb lady. Me, hold on ma'am. That kiosk is out of paper. Dumb lady, no it's not. I just saw someone use it. Me, ma'am it is. That guest came to us and told us it was empty. Dumb lady, well, I'm almost done. You can wait a little longer. Me, if you try to print, she cuts me off. Dumb lady, I'm almost done. Just stand there and wait. Malicious compliance activated *. Me, yes ma'am. I stand there and watch her print out at least 5 different promos and none came out. Then she looks at me. Dumb lady, why didn't anything come out? Me, because it's empty. Like I tried to tell you. Dumb lady, why didn't you tell me? Seriously? Me, I tried to, but you told me to stand there. Dumb lady, well what am I gonna do now? I don't have my tickets. Me, well you're gonna have to go wait in another line to get them reprinted. Dumb lady, why do I have to wait in that line? Me, that's where my supervisor is and they're the only ones who can reprint them. Dumb lady, I shouldn't have to. This shouldn't have happened. Me, it wouldn't have if you had let me put a new roll in it. Dumb lady, well go ahead and do it so I can print them out. Me, it won't work again. You'll have to. Cuts me off again. Dumb lady, I don't want to wait in that line. Change the paper so I can get my stuff. Malicious compliance activated again asterisk. Me, yes ma'am. I change the paper but I take my time doing so. Dumb lady, can you hurry up? Me, I'm making sure it's feeding okay. Dumb lady, ugh. Once I changed the paper and closed the kiosk, she pretty much pushed me out of the way and tried again. Dumb lady, it's not on here anymore. Me, I know. You have to get them reprinted by a supervisor. Dumb lady, oh my god, forget it. I'm leaving. Me with the biggest guest service smile, I'm sorry to hear that. Hope you have a good day. Dumb lady flips me the bird and leaves. So that was fun. The guests waiting for the kiosks and I definitely had a good laugh. The next story is titled, You Want Me to Leave? Your wish is my command. I work as a freelance IT, usually anything involving security, networking, gaming, hard drive recovery and etc. I had a client I would never forget. He had a 10-year-old PC with 20 TBs of data, 2 terabytes by 10, and he requested from outside the country for me to fix his slow PC. I fixed it by removing the bad sectors and cloning the hard drive to another hard drive. Took around 4 hours and did it for free of charge since he knew a friend of mine. 2 years later he comes to my country and took his PC with him. This time the PC was extremely slow, couldn't even access it online, so I went to his place and take a look. It was obvious he paid good money when he bought it. Unfortunately, a big mistake was not taking precautions before packaging it and shipping it. Video card fan destroyed, 5 hard drives damaged, CPU I/O unplugged and some kind of moisture on the motherboard. The best part is he had 32 GBs of RAM, 16 by 2 GB, and one of them had an issue. I told him to not bother with it and sell it because it would take too long, and even if it's fixed it won't last much longer. He told me he wanted to fix it and money isn't a problem. So I replaced the 5 hard drives and recovered the data, found the faulty memory, fixed the fan, cleaned the motherboard, and I/O was easy. Anyway, after a week of work. Me, which OS would you like to install? Douche, what, why? You recovered the data so the OS should be working fine. Me, unfortunately I can't clone a damaged hard drive. Douche, you did it last time. Me, last time it was partially damaged but fully functional, like the difference between a car that runs and one that doesn't. Douche, unacceptable. I am not stupid, I know you can do it and are just lazy. Like I said before, money isn't a problem. After I cloned the PC, I showed him it was still slow and kept an SSD with a new OS installed because I figured he would understand and all I would need to do is plug it in and be on my way. Then he said, Douche, yeah, it is still the same and I am not paying for it staying the same. Me, I said the PC will stay slow because of the damaged files in the OS. I can show you the difference after I plug this SSD. Douche, no, I am taking it to someone more qualified, thank you. Me, no problem, I will just return everything as it was. I was so pissed off I was shivering because this was the most humiliation day of my life. After he took it to somebody else, they threw it back at him and he called again for me to fix it. I blocked his ass. No amount of money is worth the aneurysm. The next story is titled, Small-Time Spousal Malicious Compliance. I have been in charge of doing the weekly grocery shopping for my husband and my husband has also developed a craving for watermelon for months now, requesting slices of watermelon every time I go to the store, which is fine. Lately he has been complaining about the quality of the watermelon that I have been buying, reminding me several times during the week that I need to be better at choosing the best pieces, today being no different. Like, whatever, I'll get your damn watermelon, but he fails to realize that I'm not in charge of the watermelon that's available and, I don't know, there's a global pandemic that's affecting their stock. Cue malicious compliance. I am over the idioting about the freaking watermelon, so I went to the store and got the biggest, fattest whole watermelon that I could find, hauling it around while I completed the rest of our shopping list. He came out to help with the groceries and a look of confusion came over his face and I let him know I got the best watermelon they had with greatest crap-eating grin I could muster. He's been cutting the behemoth up for 20 minutes because it's so unruly and refuses to talk to me. The next story is titled, Small but Very Petty Against Local Government. My partner and I moved into our local city, a small city not much bigger than a town, last year and have had a blast. The only thing that's annoyed us are the bin men. They come really early and wake us up, I'm talking 6 AM onwards, and we've even caught them idioting about us while collecting our waste. Recycling, we have a lot of recycling, especially in lockdown. Anyway, we got a letter a few days ago telling us we need to start putting the bins out before they collect them on the day before 7 AM, when they start collection, instead of the night before. They also said a load of other stuff about it. Being a petty idiot, I sent them a strongly worded email countering every single one of their points and saying you can't enforce a rule for us and not the whole street. Well, this morning I just so happened to wake up at 6:30 AM and realized we hadn't put the bins out, nor had they come yet. Perfect. I quickly did the bins and shoved them out onto the pavement at around 6:45. The bin men came at 6:50 and grabbed it. I took pictures of the entire thing and made sure to send a follow-up email saying how I work for the NHS and they've woken me up on my only day off after working all week, an exaggerated truth but not a lie, and here's proof of them coming before 7 and I want you to put in an official complaint. We got an email back saying to ignore the letter. Stupid, petty, but got results. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comment.